Thought Forensics CSI Study, Why the Renewed Mind Requires a Cultural Shift, a CSI Analysis of Transformation, MSM, and Apologetic Integrity. 1. Pericope Identification, CSI Scene Boundary Control, primary text, Romans 12:2 KJV, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Ephesians 4:22-24 KJV. That ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Timeline, Pauline Epistles, c. AD 55 to 62, Early Church Navigating Greco-Roman Cultural Systems. Location, Rome, Romans audience. Ephesus, Ephesians audience. Audience, believers living within dominant pagan cultural frameworks. Communities transitioning from old identity systems into Christ-centered identity, genre, apostolic instruction, ethical and transformational theology, apologetic check, foundation, coherence, mind renewal logically connects cognition, behavior, identity, correspondence. Human experience confirms thinking shapes behavior. Consistency aligns with entire biblical transformation narrative. Text stands as a rational and theological framework. 2. Textual analysis, core commands, Romans 12:2. Be not conformed. External pressure system. Be transformed. Internal change mechanism, renewing of your mind, transformation process. Key insight: transformation is not environmental relocation. It is cognitive restructuring that produces behavioral and identity change. MSM integration, text level, mindset orientation, world system, external conformity model, spirit-led system, the internal transformation model. Apologetic coherence explains why two people in same culture act differently. 3. Contextual analysis, cultural environment, Greco-Roman worldview, polytheism, social hierarchy, moral relativism, identity tied to culture and status. Paul's intervention, he introduces a countercultural identity system rooted in internal renewal. MSM integration, context level, mindset regulation, culture shapes instinctive reactions. Renewed mind regulates those reactions through truth correspondence, matches how cultural conditioning affects decision making. Apologetic check. Does culture influence cognition and behavior? Yes, sociological and psychological evidence confirms. 4. Structural analysis, two competing systems, cultural conformity system, externally driven, reactive identity, behavior shaped by environment, renewed mind system, internally governed, reflective identity, behavior shaped by truth, MSM integration, structural level, mindset formation, repeated cultural exposure, conformity, repeated truth alignment, transformation, consistency, aligns with habit formation and neural pathway development. 5. Theological synthesis. The renewed mind represents the spirit-enabled restructuring of human cognition that redefines identity, behavior, and value systems according to God's will. Critical theological point: you cannot maintain old cultural frameworks and expect new covenant identity to function properly. Therefore, transformation requires cultural disengagement at the level of thinking, not necessarily geography. Apologetic validation, coherence. Identity must align with governing belief system. Correspondence. Conflicting belief systems produce instability. Consistency aligns with biblical new creation doctrine. 6. MSM full integration. 1. Mindset orientation shift from culture-defined identity, God-defined identity, 2. Mindset regulation shift. From impulse and social pressure, truth-governed response. 3. Mindset formation shift. From repeated cultural reinforcement, repeated truth reinforcement. MSM conclusion. The renewed mind is a complete restructuring of how reality is interpreted, decisions are made, and identity is formed. 7. Interpretive synthesis. Why a cultural shift is required. A renewed mind demands cultural shift because culture programs perception, perception drives behavior, behavior forms identity. If culture remains unchallenged, transformation is overridden by environmental conditioning, and therefore, cultural shift is not optional. It is structurally necessary for sustained transformation. Apologetic integration. Coherence. Internal change cannot coexist with contradictory external frameworks. Correspondence. Divided identity leads to instability. Consistency aligns with biblical call to separation and holiness. 8. Forensic verdict. The renewed mind requires a cultural shift because transformation is not merely behavioral, but cognitive and structural. Since culture shapes perception and perception drives identity and behavior, true transformation demands the replacement of culturally conditioned thinking with truth-governed cognition. MSM explains this process as a reorientation, regulation, and formation of mindset, while apologetics confirms its logical, experiential, and theological validity. Summary closing statement, full integrated overview. This CSI interpretive journey study demonstrated that the renewed mind described in Romans 12:2 and Ephesians 4:22-24 is a comprehensive internal transformation that requires a corresponding cultural shift at the level of thought and perception. Through textual and contextual analysis, it was shown that Paul contrasts external cultural conformity with internal spiritual transformation. MSM revealed that this process occurs through the reorientation, regulation, and formation of mindset, replacing culturally conditioned thinking with truth-based cognition. Apologetically, the model was validated through coherence in its logical structure, correspondence with observable human behavior and cultural influence, and consistency with the broader biblical doctrine of new creation. The study concludes that without a shift away from culture-driven thinking, the renewed mind cannot fully function, making cultural realignment a necessary component of sustained spiritual transformation. Closing statement: like, share, and follow this ministry. Full copyright statement C. 2026, Bishop Michael Anthony McDaniel, CSI Critical Scripture Investigator, FBI Forensic Bible Investigator, Senior Investigator for Westside Grace Ministries. All rights reserved. All rights reserved. This work may not be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means without prior written permission, except for brief quotations in teaching, preaching, or scholarly review.